Welcome to the Chris Rocket Podcast. I am Chris Rocket. Thanks for joining me for this nice and soon to be cool day. At least down here, rain yesterday, and I was in it. Y'all know I love the rain, man. Nice little downpour. Fall is upon us. Of course, for us Texans, it don't feel like fall, but interesting news this week, man. You got DWade going to Cleveland. You got the Melo trade to Oklahoma City. I'm going to talk about that shit. We're going to have NBA interesting training camp battles. And of course, we're going to have the reaction from week 3 and predictions for week 4. Let's start out with the NBA news right quick. DWade. Let me start with the Carmelo trade from New York to Oklahoma City. Basically traded for Enes Kanter and small forward Doug McDermott. To me, and I've told that to a few people, I feel like this is the death sentence for Oklahoma City. If you ask me who won this trade, I'm going to say New York because long term, this is basically 1 year for all 3 of these guys in Oklahoma City. And if you feel like, if you're an Oklahoma City fan, this is you saying, oh, well, we're trying, this is us keeping Russell Westbrook around and blah, blah, blah. No. To me, this basically just lets everybody know that, you gave away Enes Kanter, one of the guys who will ride or die for Russell Westbrook, for a guy that probably is not going to be there next year. He's going to play this year and get the hell out. Watch what I tell you. And then guess what? There's a reason why Russell Westbrook did not sign an extension, man. He sees the writing on the wall. He's not going to return. Come on now. And then all 3 of them are going to leave, and now what are you stuck with? Cameron Payne is gone. Who else do you have, man? But for the Knicks, hey, you got Enes Kanter, very good, big man to go with the already good big man group that you have over there. And if I'm them, I'm buying out Joakim Noah. Get that off my hands get that off the books, like right now. I mean, well, if they keep him, then hey, it's bonus. But you get Enes Kanter and you get a shooter who needed minutes. Of course, he played for Chicago where they gave him an opportunity, but confidence does something to people, especially shooters. And I think for New York in that situation, him playing alongside guys like Courtney Lee, and him being pretty much valued as a shooter, because there aren't many over there. He's gonna get some PT. He's gonna ball a little bit over there. But for Oklahoma City, for right now, you in a good spot for this year. Next year, look back at this trade this time next year, and you tell me what you think. You're gonna be saying the same shit as me, because Kanter he's on contract for another year. McDermott, he's on contract for another year. You might see that number 2 on Carmelo's contract, but he can opt out. Paul George can opt out. Russell Westbrook can opt out. And what are you stuck with? Yeah, you're going to have a lot of money, but who's going to come? What is the attractive piece in coming to Oklahoma City? Steven Adams? Maybe. A high pick? Maybe. But to me, I feel like, Oklahoma City, that's basically the death sentence, man, because, you're going to do good this year, but Russell's leaving. Let's just make that clear right now. Russell's leaving. To the DWade buyout, and by the way, the buyout was for $15.9 million out of his $23.9. Bought out for $15.9 million, and They wiped their hands clean with that. For me, and I told Nisha this, when Rondo left, Jimmy Butler was traded, it was a matter of time before Wade was going to get bought out. Even though there wasn't no speculation, it's clear as day to see that, he's going to be the next one to go. And at first, man, I was like, yeah, he's going to Cleveland, but for the wrong reasons, But I ended up, switching to Miami because she told me that his kids were going to school in Miami. So I was like, oh shit, he's going to Miami, because he's real big on family, and he's all about those boys, man. So I kind of thought he was going to Miami. I had to switch it up, but he's going to Cleveland, and for that Cleveland team, it's loaded. Of course, we had no doubts about the starters, but that bench, for a while, we kept thinking about, okay, damn, man, you get all these guys, man, but that bench looks a little weak. Now that bench look a little strong now, man. I'm not even gonna lie. Now, I mean, to hell with the Cavaliers, to hell with the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's all about the Mavericks, but that bench look a little respectable. I guess the interesting thing is, what do you do with Iman Shumpert? Do you 2-3? Do you 2-3 J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert, or do you 1-2 them? But then you got Derrick Rose right there. And then with that, what do you do with Richard Jefferson? Do you 3-4 Richard Jefferson? And then with that, what do you do with Channing Frye? Do you leave Channing Frye like sitting in the end of the bench, or what do you do with Korver? There's a lot of questions right there, and a lot of talent on their bench, and I think it's a good thing that they have so much depth, because depth was the problem that they had for the last couple of years, and I think they addressed that with the acquisitions that they have. A lot of talent with such little money. DWade came on for $2.3 million. Never mind the fact that he's getting paid $15.9 from Chicago. You get Derrick Rose for $1.5. Derrick Rose averaged almost 19 a game in a triangle offense, like Chris Broussard said, in a triangle offense where it's not really catered to the point guard. And watching a few games from last year, he looks, with the exception of a lot of times where he kind of threw the ball away, getting caught in the air, I feel like, Derrick Rose is going to be a very good asset to this squad. He's going to be a really good asset to a guy like Kyle Korver, who he's really good at kicking it out and, utilizing that space. He's not a guy that's going to dribble a lot. He's just going to drive a lot. But I feel like, Cleveland looks a little, it looks a little decent over there, man. Like I said, not that I give a shit. And, for Oklahoma City, it just, crowds the Western Conference a little bit more. You bring in another former All-Star in the East all the way to the West. So now that Western All-Star squad is going to have a lot of snubs, man. So that doesn't bode well for my guy Harrison Barnes, who I feel like should have went over Gordon Hayward, but then I digress. But yo, I can't wait to see, these super teams kind of like, fall on their faces. But then again, Golden State won, so I guess everybody's like, this is how you do it. Of course, I come from a whole different, type of, I'm a guy that likes to build, through draft, role players, develop. But, I guess that's just pretty much like a dinosaur way of doing shit nowadays. Nowadays, you just get a whole lot of superstars, clump them all at one spot, and make it work. Get the ball on the wing and ISO, and then go to work after that. Rebound, that's pretty much it, right? But we'll see how the season starts, man, and we'll see how much of a boost does that happen in my NBA predictions coming up in a couple weeks. But coming up in the Chris Rocky podcast, we're gonna do the interesting battles in camp for the NBA. You'll listen to the Chris Rocky podcast.
This is Weasel News.
Adult film stars are protesting the only way they know how.
A protester has been knifed to death at a protest over the shooting death of a protester the day before.
Sex News.
Jasmine, a local porn star, is upset at the new law requiring adult film actors to wear condoms. The actresses have told City Council to let them make terrible life decisions on their own.
The government should stay out of my vagina. In fact, most people should until this little problem clears out.
Heartbreak today as a man was killed at a protest against violence. Henry Diaz was knifed to death at a protest against the death of Martin Smith, who was shot at a demonstration the day before. Smith was campaigning to stop crowd violence in a response against excessive police brutality. There will be no more protesting against police violence.
This was Weasel News. This is Weasel News.
Empty head and a great rack? Panic Girl cheerleader tryouts begin today.
And why a local nudist will no longer be serving empanadas.
Sports News.
They are the best part of sporting events. Hot girls bouncing up and down, reminding us of our failures in life while we look on and numb ourselves with another overpriced beer. Cheerleader tryouts for the Los Santos Panic began today, and Teresa Smith says she can't wait to be a Panic Girl.
Oh my God, I've always wanted to shoot t-shirts at men. I have real aggression issues after my dad abandoned me and my mom.
She said it's always been her goal to cheer on moody basketball millionaires in tight clothes.
Food trucks are all the rage for people that enjoy cuisine made in a tiny bus. But one favorite hipster nudist food truck was shut down by health inspectors today. A local resident says he's glad.
Who cooks in the nude? I certainly don't after getting third-degree burns on my penis.
This was Weasel News.
All right, it's that time. It's that time of year where the NBA starting next month. Opening night is I think October the 18th. Training camp started this past Monday, man, and just like the NFL, I'm going to do my interesting position battles in NBA training camp. Now, it's a lot more trickier than the NFL. A lot of the times, the NFL is pretty much cut and dry. You pretty much know what's up with that. To the NBA, and that's the reason why I like the NBA. It's a lot. A lot more goes into it. Just because a guy's getting paid more, that doesn't mean he's going to start. I guess me and Nisha found that out the hard way last year. Well, last couple years. That's the greatest thing about the NBA is that a lot of teams, some guys are better off being in another spot. So I'm gonna do the best I can to predict these. Not really predict, but a lot of these battles in camp. Really good rookie class, as a whole. So this might be, compared to probably the 2013 draft, whatever draft Karl Anthony Towns came out of. I think that was the last draft where I felt like there was a lot of impact for rookies, and a lot of impact for rookies that were in this draft, and that's going to come in and make an impact right away. And speaking of one of those rookies, in Atlanta, as we start. In Atlanta, my interesting battle would probably be the big man position, the power forward. John Collins, they're really high on that guy. I really like him coming out of college. It looks like he got that sold up with, they got Ilyasova, we got Mike Muscala over there. Looks like he got that spot sold up pretty much. But that center position is what I'm looking at as an interesting battle between DWade Dedman and Mouse Plumlee, two veterans. To me, pretty much, either way, you can't go wrong either way. Boston, I'm going to look at that shooting guard spot, man. You lose Avery Bradley. You drafted Jason Tatum. Do you start Marcus Smart or keep him at the bench where he's more effective? And of course, if you start Marcus Smart, you're going to put him at a shooting guard, which I feel like, with his size, I think he can handle being in that spot. Or do you bring up Jaylen Brown? Like, a lot of questions, a lot of questions for that position. In Brooklyn, as me and Nisha discuss it, they got a log jam everywhere on that team. You bring in Allen Crabbe, you bring in DeMar Carroll, but to me, those guys, they can, You can start them, you can sit them. It don't even matter. My interesting position battle will probably be that center position with rookie Jared Allen and Timothy Mozgov. You know, do you go with the rookie or do you go with the vet and let the rookie come up probably mid-season after the All-Star break? That sort of time set. And Charlotte, my instant position battle probably the bench wings. You have Michael Carter Williams, was obviously your point guard right there. Or do you slide him at the shooting guard? You got Jeremy Lamb right there. You drafted Malik Monk. They got him listed as a shooting guard. He's really a combo guard, sort of like a Monte Ellis type. But, you know, what do you do at that bench wing position? Like, do you want to go dynamic? How do you want to do that? That's an interesting battle right there. Chicago, I want to go with that power forward position. You got, you know, Mirotic came back. You drafted Mark Cannon. You got Bobby Portis right there. Who's going to start? Who's going to come off the bench? And how do you divide the minutes up? You also got Felicio, who's listed as a power forward, but mostly used as a center. How do you go about doing that? In Cleveland, you know, with all that talent they have, okay, who are your top bench guys now? You got Calderon. You got Jeff Green, Jefferson, Shumpert, J.R. Smith. You got a lot of these people, but who's going to be your top rotation guys? That's going to be interesting right there. In Detroit, I'm looking at that shooting guard position. You get Avery Bradley. You drop Kennard, and you got Langston Galloway. I think obviously you're going to want to start Avery Bradley. But then, you know, what are you going to do about the bench shooting guard between Kennard and Langston Galloway? That's going to be interesting. In Pacerland, you know, how's that bench going to look like? You know, your starters, you can be between Darren Collison and Lance Stevenson, or do you slide Stevenson at the shooting guard? But then again, what are you going to do with Oladipo? I mean, at least we know for sure Oladipo starting, Miles Turner is starting, Thaddeus Young is there. You know, Sabonis is going to be on the bench. TJ Leaf is going to be on the bench. Bogdanovich. But the question is, how is the makeups going to be? That top 8 to 10 rotation, how is that going to make up? In Miami, the power forward position is what I'm looking at. Bam Adebayo, who Nisha tells me they're probably going to, you know, he's going to be used as a center, but you know, he has the skill to be a power forward, a stretch forward type. You also have Olynyk, who's really a center. Also can be used as a power forward. You got you know, James Johnson, who's a small forward, and she tells me they're probably going to start him at the power forward because, you know, he's very versatile, very defensive player, and you know, he create mismatch problems on that power forward spot. So you know, like she says, you know, it's really much cut and dry, but you know, the bench power forward and the bench center are the ones that's much more in question right there. Milwaukee, the interesting battle is really two specific players. We know this team pretty much has everybody coming back, but the battle is between that bench power forward spot between Thon Maker and Mirza Tilidovic. You know, who's going to have the upper hand between those two? That's going to be interesting. Or do you move non-maker? Yes, I'm going to still call him non-maker. Thanks, Nisha. I'm going to call him non-maker. Do you move him down to that small forward spot? You know, he's, you know, nimble enough to play the position, but, you know, but then he's too fucking small and scrawny to be a power forward. But that's going to be an interesting battle between him and Mirza Tilidovic. And New York, I'm going to look at that point guard position between, you know, the rookie Frank Ntilikina. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but who gives a shit? Frank Ntilikina, Ramon Sessions, we got Ron Baker there, Jared Jack. Who's going to start? Who's coming off the bench? I think that's a wide open battle. I mean, no matter how good that rookie is, but Jared Jack, you know, he's a very capable player. Ramon Sessions, a veteran, you know, been there, done that, you know. That's the position I'm looking at. And also that center position. You get Enes Kanter. You got Kuzmiskis. You got Hernan Gomez. Very good big man. You know, how do they split it up? Who's going to start in that position? In Orlando, it's just really a clusterfuck all the way around. But the most, you know, interesting position is probably the 2, 3, and the 4. you got so many capable pieces. You can flip flop them however you want. But Jonathan Isaac, who they got listed as a small forward, where do you put him? It is the same thing we had going on with Aaron Gordon. Where the hell do you put him? He's like one of those tweener guys. Probably, he's a little bit more quicker than Aaron Gordon, but, just like, most of these guys that's coming out of college at that size, man, mismatch problems at the power forward on both sides. But that guy, he's a willing shot blocker, much more than Aaron Gordon. Just as athletic. Well, I guess he's not as athletic as Aaron Gordon, but that's going to be an interesting battle between the shooting guard position with Aflalo and Fournier, and then you bring in Jonathan Simmons. Then the small forward spot with Hazonia. You got Isaac, if you keep him there. You got Terrence Ross right there. Then the power forward position, you got Maurice Spates, who you brought in. And then you got the, if you decide to put Isaac at the power forward spot, how does he fit in right there? Those are my interesting battles for that team. Philly is, I guess for a team that's on the come up, they have the best problem in the world. They have capable talent at every position. Point guard, obviously, Fultz is the starter, but then you got Bayless, you got McConnell. How do you split minutes with right there? I guess it should be easy because those guys were there last year. Shooting guard, you bring in JJ Redick, but then again you got Simba, who is Justin Anderson. You got the kid, the foreign kid, Furkan Korkmaz, who is very good, very big and fast shooting guard. Then you got Stauskas right there. Small forward, you got TLC, you got Robert Covington. And then do you put Ben Simmons there, or do you slide him over to the power forward spot where you have Saric, Holmes, Chris Humphries, and Amir Johnson, which is really the logjam on this team, the power forward position. And of course at center, you got Embiid, you got Okafor. I don't even know why they haven't traded Okafor yet, but this team has pretty much interesting battles all the way around. But when it's all said and done, when you name your starters, who are your top 8 to 10 rotation guys? That's going to be interesting for me. Toronto, they lost a lot of pieces off their bench, but they do have capable people that came in. You lose Kojo, you got KJ McDaniels, you got CJ Miles. Norm Powell came up strong last year. You got Kabakalo. You got capable pieces, but how is what is it going to look like? Because you can't replace a guy like Kojo, a veteran guy who really can just be the floor general for you. So that's going to be interesting right there. How is that bench going to look like? For Washington, the bench point guard spot, you lose Jennings, you lose Ramon Sessions, you got Tim Frazier, you got Jody Meeks, Sotaransky right there, Donald Sloan right there. Who's going to come up on top on the bench spot? The Western Conference, as we start with my Dallas Mavericks, is going to have to be that bench power forward center position. The lineup we pretty much will go with. We're going to have Harrison Barnes playing the 4 and Dirk playing the 5. So which means that, you got Dwight Powell down there. We got Finney Smith down there. You got Meg Roberts right there. So, Powell was in the doghouse a lot of the time last year. So we're gonna see if he's gonna get his act together. Then probably towards the end of the year, Jonathan Motley is gonna be making his spot starts and spot minutes. How he's going to fit in right there. So that bench power forward, that bench center spot where we got Salah Mejri, you got Jeff Whitty right there. How the minutes going to be divided right there. Of course, Noel is there as well. So for a team that needed rebounding like a motherfucker last year, we got a lot of that. So that's going to be interesting for me. Denver, that team is pretty much like it got 5 power forwards. So it's all about how the hell is all of this going to fit in? The whole summer, me and Nisha was just talking about at what point are they going to trade Kenny Fareed? Not to say that he sucks, but you got You got Hernan Gomez. You got Trey Lyles. You got Tyler Lydon. You know, Mason Plumlee. You got Darrell Arthur, who's a very good mid-range shooter. You know, Kenny Fareed in this you know, day and time, the power forward is really your stretch for. Or, you know, you have a guy that you can't put him on the floor with Jokic because Jokic is down low. And you need Jokic on the floor most of the game, which leaves, you know, Kenny Fareed, who's a guy that's just going to rebound, give you energy all the time. You know, Fareed is pretty much the odd man now, and his, you know, contract is attractive. So I wonder why they haven't really traded him. But hey, he's on the team right now. And then not to mention, you got Millsap, so that really leaves him as the odd man out. That's gonna be my interesting position, that power forward position, and then of course the point guard. You know, Moutier, you know, who really just digressed last year. Jamil Nelson, you know, came in, did a hell of a good job. How's that position going to look, man? Golden State, you know, they brought in capable, you know, bench pieces. I can say they really got a decent bench this year. You know, it's just basically just putting all that shit together. You got Caspi, bring in Caspi, bring in Nick Young, just putting it all together for that bench spot. You know, of course, the starters are, you know, who they are. Drafted Jordan Bell. How's that bench going to look for Houston? Pretty much the same thing almost, but, you know, who's going to replace the pieces that they left via the trade? You lose Beverly, you lose Lou Williams, but you bring in PJ Tucker. And I guess, you know, me and Nisha discussed, what do you do with Ariza? What do you do with Tucker? To me, either way, you're gonna, you know, come out strong either way, because, you know, only difference between those two is that Ariza is the better three-point shooter, but, you know, like I said, you know, you can't go wrong either way. They both play good defense, but that bench is going to be the key for me. That's going to be my interesting battle. The bench, the Clippers. With all the pieces that they got in that trade, you know, who are you going to start and who are going to be your bench? For me, Lou Williams, obviously you keep him on the bench. He basically replaces Jamal Crawford. The point guard spot. Do you start Beverly or do you start the brat son Austin Rivers? You know, or do you start the kid Juwan Evans, or do you bring in the Europe sensation Melo Teodosic? For me, you start Beverly. You know, you start Beverly, and then you bring in the kid and the you know, European sensation. You know, Austin Rivers. I think he should stay at the 2. I think that's where he's more effective. And then, you know, that power forward position, man. You know, like, you got Blake, but then you got Harrell. Then you got, you know, Willie Reed. You got Marshall Plumlee. Sam Decker, which kind of sort of is a small forward, but he could play the 4. You know, how do you divvy up the minutes right there? For the Lakers, it's pretty much what do you do with KCP and what do you do with Jordan Clarkson? We discussed that you bring Jordan Clarkson off the bench, along with you know, guys like, you know, Corey Brewer, guys like Larry Nance Jr. This, you know, when it's all said and done, this team is going to be pretty nice, man. You got Andrew Bogut to go along with Brook Lopez. That center spot is pretty much sold up. If Bogut can stay healthy, that center spot, no matter how you do it, that team is going to be nice on that back end. You know, you got Randall getting boards, Larry Nance coming up behind him. Of course, Luol Deng is a veteran. You really look at this team, it's not as terrible as people think. Even without Lonzo Ball, this team is pretty decent. But, you know, what do you do with that shooting guard spot? What do you do with the bench point guard spot is my question. For the Memphis Grizzlies, I'm really looking at that starting shooting guard spot. That battle between Ben McLemore and Tyreek Evans. Really gonna be interesting to see who gets that starting nod. They pretty much, are the same person, shooting wise up. I think Evans is a little bit more better scoring. B Mac give you a little bit more defense. And also that bench makeup. You lose a lot of pieces on that bench. You use a lot of that, what makes the grindhouse. You lose Tony Allen over there, man. So that bench makeup is going to be very important. For Minnesota, it's really the bench point guards for me. Between Aaron Brooks and Tyus Jones, of course, some people might be like, obviously just go with Aaron Brooks. But Tyus Jones really has been improving over the years. Let's see how he's going to pretty much react to being, in a battle with a guy like Aaron Brooks, who's a proven veteran. New Orleans, we're looking at that small forward position. Tony Allen, Dante Cunningham, and Solomon Hill. We want to see who starts and then who's going to get more minutes coming off that bench. Looks like Dante Cunningham, who's already, I always will go with the guy who's already been there. Tony Allen, the first team on defense a lot of years. So it's going to be really interesting to see, and then also Perry Jones, who can play small forward but really listed as a power forward. That's going to be an interesting battle, the small forward position for the Pelicans. Oklahoma City, I'm going to look at that bench point guard position between the naked mole rat and Isaiah Cannon. Him and Markel Brown, battling behind Russell Westbrook, for that bench point guard spot for me. And then that small forward, the bench small forward between Kyle Singler and Alex Abrinas. And just to go back to that point guard spot, they also have Bryce Alford. But I think Bryce Alford is a shooting guard. When he was at UCLA playing with Lonzo Ball, he was the point guard because he's short. I think he's like 6'2", but the dude can shoot like a motherfucker. Dude can shoot, dude can hustle. So they got him listed as a point guard, but I look at him as a shooting guard. But back to that small forward position between Kyle Singler and Alex Abrinas. To me, this is the year where Kyle Singler just pretty much just need to put up and shut up. So this is going to be interesting between those two guys. For Phoenix, we're going to look at that small forward position between Josh Jackson and TJ Warren. Josh Jackson is the rookie. Really picked high in the draft. Do you start him and, come in with TJ Warren, or do you start TJ Warren, let the rookie learn? That's going to be interesting. And then that bench power forward position, you got Dragan Bender and you got Jared Dudley, the battle behind starter Marquise Chris, who I like. Right now the leader is the Jared Dudley, but it's going to be an interesting battle between those two. For Portland, and we've been saying this for years, is the same old. That power forward position, to me, this is the year. Myers Leonard, you just need to put up a shut up, man. You got paid a few years back. Yeah, you got injured, battled shoulder injury, but this is the year where you need to show, be really effective, be the shooter that everybody thought you was going to be effective in the paint. That's going to be a battle between him, Farouk Aminu, and Noah Vonleh. Very interesting battle right there. The leader, they play, Aminu a lot because he's versatile, more defensive guy. Vonleh, everybody's just pretty much just going off of potential. Potential means nothing these days, you feel me? So that's going to be a good battle. For the Sacramento Kings, the bench spots at point guard, you got De'Aaron Fox and you got Frank Mason III. That's going to be a damn good, battle to me, man. You can't go wrong either way. The starter, I feel like it's George Hill. You pay him, let him start. But you can't, man. You got some good, capable pieces for the future right there, point guard with Fox and Mason. So it's going to be interesting. And then you got the epic battle between Kentucky and Kansas last year. So going to be interesting to see them guys battle up. And also that shooting guard spot with Vince Carter, Buddy Hield, Bogdanovich, Malachi Richardson, and Garrett Temple. So, logjam at small shooting guard. Of course, Vince Carter can play the three as well. I think Garrett Temple can play the three. Bogdan, you got versatility right there. But who's gonna come up on top on this shooting guard spot? For the Spurs, that bench point guard between Tony Parker, and then the young cat, DeJounte Murray. Time is running out for Tony Parker. And so, for Murray to battle a guy like him, man, if he's able to beat him, I guess that means the future is in good hands. And then, Patty Mills. Do you flip-flop him? Do you keep Tony Parker the starter? Or do you have the young guy, Patty Mills? Questions all around right there. Then, of course, the bench power forward position. I like Bertans. And then you got Joffrey Lavergne. Bertans is the better shooter, but, Lavergne is a better rebounder. So it's going to be an interesting battle right there. And then finally, for the Utah Jazz, the bench positions. You got the bench point guard, shooting guard, small forward, and power forward. For the point guards, you got Neto and Dante Exum, who I feel like needs to put up a shut up. Interesting battle right there. Shooting guards, Alec Burke and Donovan Mitchell. Great battle right there. Small forwards, Thabo Sefolosha and Joe Ingles. Very good battle right there. Both very defensive-minded guys. And for the power forward, Joel Bolenboy and Jonas Jerebko. The leader right now seems to be Bowling Boy. Very high ceiling for him. Of course, Jerebko is much better shooter. But very interesting battles all the way around. Like I stated before, the NBA is very, it's unpredictable at times. There'll be times where, an injury could, it could change the whole dynamic. And then for some of these teams, especially nowadays where you got really small forwards playing power forwards, like example for us, Harrison Barnes is a small forward. Harrison Barnes is, yes, he's 6'8". So playing power forward is not ideal. And, he could bang with a power forward, but if you did this in 2004, you'd be crazy. I think Don Nelson did that shit before. He had Antoine Walker playing the power forward one time. And actually playing Antoine Walker playing the point forward. But, and that's the greatness of this game, man. You watch it. All of these different strategic moves, guys playing in positions where you're like, okay, what the hell are they doing? And then it works. So, with a lot of these interesting battles, man, it's basically what I think. Of course, if Nisha did hers, and I always reference Nisha because, I feel like she's one of the great, basketball minds out there. And a lot of these, I kind of went to her for her, take on it, and of course, I'm not afraid to admit that, I get some consultation for a lot of this stuff. But, just pretty much like two great minds, knocking heads together to see, what can come out of it. But, these are mostly, the things that I think. And if you ask two more people, they might have two different views. And that's the greatest thing about this game. The NFL, a lot of us, for the most part, will pretty much be like the same thing. And so, very excited for the season to start. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a hold of a lot of these preseason games. I think for a lot of them, they're going to air it on ESPN. I think so. Got to make that money some kind of way, right? So, whatever they come up, I'm definitely going to be trying my best. Trying my best to really get a hold of these games, really get a good look at a lot of these young guys, because they're going to be playing a lot of these young guys. So very excited to see this rookie class really play amongst NBA veterans instead of summer league where they're playing against a lot of bums. So very interesting season coming up, and a lot of movement. Coming up on the Chris Rocket podcast, we're going to do a quick recap on week number 3, and we're going to do prediction for week number 4. Thanks for joining me. You've been listening to the Chris Rocket podcast. Stay tuned, man.
Weasel News.
Los Santos is parched, and some say Canada is the answer.
A man rejected by his family over his annoying gluten-free diet.
Transition whoosh.
Canada is often derided by Americans who have never traveled and think that the country is full of women that chop down trees and don't shave their legs. And while that may be true, it is a place that has a lot of water. Los Santos city officials are considering building a pipeline to Canada and draining their lakes dry. One local resident agrees with them.
That's our water. We are thirsty. We have farms in the desert that need water.
We'll stay with this story.
A local man is homeless after his constant anti-gluten preaching became too much for his family, friends, and work colleagues to handle. His sister spoke to Weasel News last night.
Nobody gives a rat's ass that you don't eat gluten. People with food allergies should be put down.
Weasel News, confirming your prejudices.
Welcome back to the Chris Rocky Podcast. Week 3 came and went. Gonna run through these scores and stats for a minute. The Thursday night game, the Rams beat the 49ers 41-39. Brian Hoyer 300-yard game. Ty Gurley, another good game, 113 yards. Garcon led the receivers with 142 yards receiving. Baltimore loses in London against the Jaguars 44-7. Man, Blake Bortles surprisingly played good, man. You know, I give him credit. Threw 3 touchdowns to Mercedes Lewis. Very good job by them. You got the Colts barely beating the Browns. Browns had a very late comeback. Great job by Brissett, 259 yards passing, and T.Y. Hilton over 100 yards, 150 yards receiving. We got the Steelers and the Bears, with the Bears getting a controversial touchdown in overtime. You know, obviously that guy was holding on that edge. But, hey, the Bears won 23-17. I really hate that I lost that game in my picks. Jordan Howard with over 100 yards rushing. You got the Saints all over the Panthers, 34-13. I don't know what the hell is going on with the Panthers. You got Christian McCaffrey over 100 yards receiving. Great game by him. Philly over the Giants, 27-24. Eli Manning over 350 yards passing. Bills stunning the Broncos. I don't know what's going on there either. 26-16. Trevor Siemian, 259 yards passing. Demaryius Thomas, 98 yards receiving. You got the Jets. The fucking Jets beating the Dolphins 20-6. Josh McCown, 249 yards passing. Bilal Powell, 37 yards rushing. That was the leading rusher the whole game. That just basically lets you know what kind of game that was. You have the Patriots squeaking out a win against the Houston Texans. Very good game all the way through. Deshaun Watson, you know what? Win or lose, that was a great game by that kid. Brandon Cooks with the nice, toe-tapping touchdown at the very end. You got the Vikings. Beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 34-17. Case Keenum came in and wrecked shop, 369 yards passing. Then you got Stephon Diggs, who I feel like is getting that superstar, he getting that superstar mode, man. They got something good going down there in Minnesota. Atlanta versus Detroit. Atlanta beating the Lions 30-26. Matt Ryan almost 300 yards passing. Very good game by them. You got the Seahawks losing against the Titans. That team might not be as good as people think they are, man. Even though, Russell Williams 373 yards passing, you got to do better over there. You got the Chiefs beating the Chargers 24-10. Another great game by Hunt, 172 yards rushing. You got Green Bay beating the Bengals in overtime 27-24, 313 yards passing by Aaron Rodgers. Good game by Joe Mixon. And a very big play at the very end by Geronimo Allison. I tell y'all, man, they got a fucking garden back there in Green Bay with those wide receivers. You got Washington all over the Raiders, 27-10. Great game by Kirk Cousins, 365 yards passing. And you got Chris Thompson, 150 yards receiving from the running back position. Great game. Now the Monday night game, you got the Cowboys beating the Arizona Cardinals. This game was pretty much all Arizona in the beginning. And then, Cowboys instilled their will. Great defensive game by DeMarcus Lawrence, 3 sacks. Larry Fitzgerald, great game, 149 yards receiving. I think he had 13 catches. I think he had like 8 or 9 in the first half. But very good game by the Cowboys. They needed that game. Zeke with 80 yards rushing. They needed that game to pretty much bounce back from their loss against the Broncos. So my predictions for week number 4 as I pull this shit up. I know y'all heard the mouse clicking and shit. All right, Thursday night game. We got the Bears and the Packers NFC North game. All these division games are really unpredictable, but this one's pretty much predictable. I got Green Bay over Chicago. New Orleans and Miami. Miami got embarrassed, so I'm going to pick Miami. Get bounce back over the Saints. Houston versus Tennessee. I got Houston in this game. Deshaun Watson really showed me something against the Pacers. Very hostile territory. I think he's going to go in Tennessee in this AFC South matchup, get the W. The Jets and the Jaguars, this is basically the two teams that I really just, talk shit about. Jacksonville, to me, is the better team, so Jacksonville wins. New England and Carolina. This will be a lot closer game if Greg Olsen played. Greg Olsen is out, so, New England's going to get this win. Even if it's a shootout or defensive game, I think New England's going to get this game. Minnesota and Detroit, this is a game where I really, pondered on a long time. This is one of the last picks I made. Everybody else, I pretty much was like bam, bam, bam. And I left this game blank. I'm going to go with Minnesota because they have more offensive power. I know, you got Matt Stafford over there who can spread the ball around. But, man, Darius Slay can only cover one person. And I think Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen, and of course, with the emergence of Dalvin Cook, they now have a very good, potent offense, man. I'm going to pick Minnesota in this. Atlanta and Buffalo. I got Atlanta. Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. The better offense wins for me. The defense to me is a push. Baltimore is a little bit better on defense, but you can only count for so much, man. Baltimore, I feel like they can cover a lot of people, but Pittsburgh has way too many weapons. And then, of course, they coming off a loss. So, I don't see Pittsburgh losing 2 in a row. Cincinnati and the Browns. I'm going to pick Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati is getting a little bit better. Dallas and the Rams. I think Dallas is finally getting their groove. The Rams, even though they got Aaron Donald, I think they can get a few yards on them. Rams don't really have good cornerbacks, good safeties. So Dallas is going to have a good job passing the ball this game. They don't really have to run it this time. So they're going to have a good passing game. Look for Jason Witten to bounce back in that type of game. Philly and San Diego. I'm going to go with Philly in this game. To me, the loss of, their star cornerback for the Chargers, I think Philly's going to take advantage of that. The Giants and the Bucks. I'm going to go with the Giants. At some point, the Giants are going to have to bounce back some way, somehow. I think this is the game to do it. Arizona and San Francisco. Arizona is going to have the advantage of loss against the Cowboys. This team is much better than people think they are. This is the classic NFC West showdown. I think Arizona is going to bounce back right here. AFC West showdown between the Raiders and the Broncos. I'm going to pick the Broncos, man. It's just something about the way they manhandled Dallas. I think they're going to do the same thing with Oakland. And Oakland is vulnerable. We found that out. Oakland is vulnerable. So Denver's going to get the nod on that one. The Seahawks and the Colts. The Colts ain't as bad as people think they are. And the Seahawks ain't as good as they think they are. So this is really a toss-up, but I'm going to go with the better defense. I'm going to go with the Seahawks. In a very good game for Monday night, you got Kansas City at Washington. I'm going to keep picking Kansas City until they show me otherwise, that they're not able to, provide the points on offense. Even though Washington is more than capable of stopping a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, but I'm going to go with Kansas City this time until they show me otherwise. Last week I went 9-7 for my picks. It didn't start out good. Trust me, man. It was crazy. It was laughable last week. But hopefully this week, not as many toss-up games as last week. But let's hope that I do a much better job this week, man. I'm currently third or fourth place. I'm holding on. I'm holding strong. My winning percentage is where I wanted to be. I'm at 66% winning percentage. I'm doing pretty good. I'm holding on. I think I'm gonna do good this year, man. Maybe I get out the basement because the last few years I've been second to last and last place and third to last. I just want to get to that top 3. Let me get top 3 in the NFL picks and I'm good. Because I already got my NBA picks championship. So, I'm good right there. I can die a happy man and everything. But we'll see how my picks go. And that's all for this week, man. Very good, eventful week for sports world. In the coming weeks, I'm going to do my predictions for the season for the NBA. I might have some help to do with that. We're gonna come up on the baseball playoffs coming soon. My Texas Rangers have been officially eliminated from playoff contentions, but great season for them all the way around. Yeah, we're gonna see y'all next Thursday, man, where we're gonna do predictions for week number 5, reactions from week number 4, any news and notes from the NBA training camp, all that kind of stuff, man. A little bit more hockey information. We're gonna cover it all, man. I appreciate y'all for joining me on the Chris Rocky Podcast. You guys have a nice weekend and stay safe.